What's up, everyone? Hopefully, everyone's doing good. So this is part two of reacting to the group stages of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Let's just go ahead and get straight into it. So we're gonna start with Group G. Uh, Belgium, Egypt, Iran, and New Zealand. The first match is gonna be Belgium versus Egypt. So the first thing I want to talk about is Belgium, how they had a golden generation not too long ago. They're obviously aging at this point. So we're gonna see how they're doing. Because if y'all don't remember, they're ranked very highly in FIFA for a very long time. So they got a lot of criticism for that in the past. But let's see if they live up to that. They have players like De Bruyne, Lukaku, and Courtois. And on the other side, we have Salah and Marmoush for Egypt. So I think, well, I'm not sure, honestly. It's kind of hard to find a winner in this group. New Zealand is probably the one that's most likely to come at the bottom, but you never know in the World Cup. So let's also talk about Iran. They're gonna play New Zealand. Iran's. We're gonna have to see how they perform because they have all that pressure playing against Tim Payne, JK, but they have all that pressure because their country's in a war right now against the USA. There's all the conflict in the Middle East, but we're gonna have to see how they perform. The team has to travel to the United States and then make their way back to Mexico. So let's see how that affects the players. Obviously, not right now, but if they continue to progress in the tournament, that's what's going to happen. And then we have New Zealand. Uh, they are the representatives of Oceania. So the first time in history of FIFA that's happening. They usually don't get like a direct spot, but now that there's more teams, they get one. So that's good for them. So now let's move on to Group H, where we have Spain, Cape Verde, and Saudi Arabia and Uruguay. So Spain and Cape Verde are the first match. So I think Spain should win. These African teams are pretty good, but and my fault for not being that knowledgeable about the African game, but Spain are one of the favorites, so they should win. They're actually the team that I think are gonna win. I want Brazil to win, like in my heart, but Spain realistically is the favorite in my opinion. And then they have players like Lamine Yamal, Pedri, um, Ferran Torres, Gavi, Nico Williams. But I think Nico Williams and Lamine Yamal are a little, they're injured, but we'll see how they perform. Let's go ahead and move on to Saudi Arabia and Uruguay. So Saudi Arabia were the team that upset Argentina last World Cup, but I don't think they made it out of the group after that, which is crazy. But and Uruguay, I'm not sure what to think about Uruguay. I'm not sure how good they are. They're a historical team, but just like Italy, their stars are really not showing up, in the World Cups. So, we're just gonna have to see how they perform. I'm excited to see Spain versus Uruguay. So because it's like the favorites versus like a sleeping giant, right? And and then also Saudi Arabia is gonna host not this World Cup coming up, but the next one. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on to Group I. France, Senegal, Iraq, and Norway. So this is actually considered the group of death. I understand that there's not really a group of death anymore, like in the past, because the more teams, the lower the competition. But we all remember that historic one where Costa Rica came in first place in a group where I think Uruguay, Italy, and England were in that group, and somehow Costa Rica made it through. Shout out to them. But yeah, W's in the chat. But anyways, I digress. France, Senegal, Iraq, and Norway. So France versus Senegal is going to be an exciting match. Senegal is was in the AFCON final, so they have the level to compete versus France. We're just gonna have to see how France is coming in because France is also a favorite alongside Spain. So we're gonna have to see how that happens. You know, the France probably has the most stacked squad in general in the whole World Cup. I don't even have to name everyone. We all know like Mbappe and what's his face and Due and you know why is this Dembele? My bad. He's starting to escape me. But yeah, man, I don't even. Yeah, France is stacked. And Senegal, they have Mendy in the back, you know, Sadio Mane. You know, they're playing Saudi Arabia, but, you know, their level is still pretty good. Um, and then we move on to Iraq and Norway. So we have Iraq. I'm not sure how good they would be. We're just gonna have to find out and see. They might be for last place. Who knows? Because this team, like I said, this group is very strong. Um, I think that Norway is gonna do very well because it's Holland's first World Cup. Hopefully, he performs. But you know, from what we've seen of Holland, he usually steps up to the occasion. Yes, he is tapping in a lot of balls, but you know that's part of football. You know, penalties are part of football. You know, so you know if he can take advantage of that part of the game, you know, as long as it's fair, you know, you can't hate on it. You know, he's pretty good. Hopefully, he does well. I think that they have a decent team, and I think that they could go pretty far in this tournament. They should come in second or first. You know, they're gonna give France a run for their money for sure. The placement. So now we move to Group J. So we have Argentina, Algeria, Austria, and Jordan. Be honest, I think this is a very easy group for Argentina, one of the easiest groups for one of the bigger teams. You know, I don't know what to expect from these teams. You know, I feel like Jordan's gonna come in last, and Austria's gonna maybe come in second because they're a European team, but we'll see. But yeah, I think that Argentina's gonna shine here. They're gonna do very well, and we'll see what they do outside of the group stages. So yeah, but now we move on to Group K with Portugal, DR Congo, Uzbekistan, and Colombia. Obviously, Colombia versus Portugal is gonna be oof. You know, we'll talk about that in a second. But Portugal versus DR Congo, I think Portugal should win that. You know, I think the question everyone's probably asking themselves is how good Ronaldo is going to be. You know, he's 40 years old at this point. Can Portugal, you know, serve him enough crosses, you know, to take advantage of? Who knows? They do have a very stacked midfield. Um, so that's going to be their strong suit. I mean, but they have names all over the pitch, so we're gonna see. And yeah, I think DR Congo also made it through with playoffs, the international playoffs. So yeah, it's gonna be an interesting match. And then we have Uzbekistan versus Colombia, and then so Uzbekistan is here thanks to the I'm pretty sure because of the Man City player. I think it's Hasanov. I'm not sure. Those names are so hard, but yeah, I think that Colombia should beat Uzbekistan. I think that Colombia is going to be a team to beat, a hard team to beat in this World Cup. You know, because they made it to the Copa America final, and they just have a lot of really good players. You know, James versus Ronaldo in the big 2026 is crazy, but you know, good for them. I do think this is James's last World Cup. Probably Ronaldo's too, but you never know with him. Um, yeah, I'm just thinking about Colombia versus Portugal. They're definitely going to be fighting for first place of the group. But very exciting matchup. This one, Uruguay versus Spain and France versus Norway are probably the most exciting matches in the group stages. But anyways, so now let's move to Group L, where we have England, Croatia, Ghana, and Panama. So this is the last group. I think England would probably top this group. Um, they're definitely the best team here on paper. But let's go ahead and talk about England versus Croatia. So Croatia has a little bit of a thing like Belgium, where they had a golden generation where they do very well. They made it to the 2018 final, so good on them. So I wonder how good Kane is gonna be for England because he's definitely their main man. In Bayern, he's been killing it. I really enjoy watching Kane because he's a striker, but all of a sudden he'll be clearing a ball or defending from his box. He if he's not getting a lot of service, he'll start falling a little bit more back and creating plays, kind of similar to like what Messi does. So it's very exciting to see about Haaland and Bellingham and all that stuff. The England team also had some players that a lot of people were surprised they weren't called up, like Palmer. But let's see how that goes for them. And then yeah, Croatia, Luka Modric is last match. I mean last World Cup. So hopefully he has a good showing. And Ghana versus Panama. So I really hope Panama does well. Panama's one of the revelation teams from CONCACAF that all of a sudden started doing very well and for a few years back and now is a force to be reckoned with. And they've been doing better than Costa Rica. Unfortunately, Costa Rica has been underperforming. And then Ghana. I think Ghana is one of the stronger and more consistent teams from Africa. I honestly think that Ghana is probably going to beat Panama. The interesting placement for second place is going to be Croatia or Ghana. Who's going to get second? Who's going to get third? And not all third places are going to make it through. So the best third places are going to make it through, which is going to be fun to see who qualifies and who doesn't. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Um, I think that this World Cup's going to be very exciting. You get 10 teams from Africa, and you get 9, basically 10 from Asia, due to the fact that one is for Oceania, but I'm gonna just count it as for Asia, so 10 and 10, and that's gonna be fun. You get 6 from South America and 6 from CONCACAF, which is good, and all the teams that won in international playoffs and all the European teams. There's a lot more of them, but it's understandable. Europe has the most developed football nowadays. So yeah, and all of the other confederations have been growing a lot. But we're gonna see who's gonna perform and who's not. Hopefully, the 3 host nations make it through. It's very important for Mexico, USA, and Canada to have a good run. But I honestly think it's important for different reasons. I think Mexico, they have to approve the point of proof because they're a soccer hungry nation already. So they just gotta prove their haters wrong. Right wrongs from the past, and try to make a deep run so they can satisfy the hunger that the fans have been wanting for years. Del quinto partido, that kind of doesn't exist anymore, but they want to make a deep run so they can make up for last time, because last time they made it out and they didn't even make it out of the groups. So that was like a big failure last time. And then the reason I say it's important for Canada and the United States is because Canada, it makes sense that it's not that big of a sport over there because there's not that much people, but also, it's a very cold country, where hockey would probably be more important to them. But it's an untapped market. Their domestic league is growing, and then hopefully I'll be covering their league. Off topic, but hopefully their league keeps growing. They have a lot of talented players like Alfonso Davies, and their team just keeps getting better and better. But yeah, I hope the United States does a good job, because that you know this country, the United States, has a lot of money, a lot of people. It's a very untapped market. If the United States does very well, maybe it'll take U.S. soccer to another level. Maybe we get a lot more Pulisic, in our ranks. The MLS. Hopefully, it continues to grow. Domestically, and hopefully we get more players abroad. So there's a chance for all three host nations to grow in different ways. And yeah, I'm very excited. May the games begin. Uh, and yeah, man, I hope everything goes good, and everyone enjoys the tournament. And I'll see y'all there. Y'all have a good one, and I appreciate y'all's time.